In this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate the concept of Java arrays. So what is an array? It simply stores a fixed size collection of elements of the same type. So think of this as simply a list with square brackets, and it contains multiple variables. So instead of declaring individual variables that we've been doing so far, we can declare a bunch of variables in a single array. And that again is a fixed type. So once you declare all the variables, you'll only be able to use just those. And to use an array within our program, we must declare a variable to reference the array. So a simple definition of an array is that it's a container object that holds a fixed number of values of a single type. There are a couple of other types of arrays in Java, such as the multi-dimensional arrays or single-dimensional arrays, and I'll cover those in subsequent lessons. But here I'm going to demonstrate just the basic concept of the Java array. So let's jump right in. Let's open up our Java Eclipse editor. So once we are in the Eclipse editor, let me go ahead and simply create a new class by right-clicking on our Java introduction folder, choosing new, and then clicking on class. This opens up the new Java class window. I'm simply going to give it a name. I'm going to call it test array and simply click finish. By default, it brings up our public class and names it test array, which is the same name as our file name, testarray.java. So next, let me go ahead and create a few properties. So it'll be public, static, void, and then our main function. This will be string, and then our array with the command line arguments, and open our curly braces. Now notice here we actually in fact have been using the string array. So it's just a set of brackets. If there's nothing in it, that means it's an empty array. So next, let's in fact create an array with a bunch of elements in it. So let's hit enter. Let's call it double. Give it a name. Let's call it my list. And this would equal, let's say, a bunch of values in there. 1.9, 2.9, 3.4, just another one, 3.5. So what we've done here so far is just we created a mylist array and we called it double square brackets mylist with a bunch of elements. Next, so print all the array elements. Okay. Now typically when we work with array, we use the for loop also with an array. You don't have to, but generally it's used. So I'm going to use, in fact, the for, and I'm going to say int I equals 0, semicolon, and then I'm going to say I is less than my list, and then specify the length, and then the increment. Open our curly braces and do a printout. So system.out.print, and I'm interested in printing the my list and then whatever is in that array plus an empty space. Great. So this is where we will be printing the entire list that is in our array. So it'll be 1.9, 2.9, and so forth. Next, we can also manipulate these arrays. So in other words, all these elements within a single array, we can add them, subtract them, multiply them, and use any operators. So for example, let me go ahead and do the summing of all elements. So I'm going to say double total equals to 0. And then do a for loop for int where I equals 0 and I is less than my list dot length, and then increment the I, open our curly braces, and do a total plus equals my list. Perfect. And of course we need to specify the I within brackets so it knows what to total. Make sure we have a semicolon at the end. Great. So here we just did the total for the array. Let me go ahead and fix the spelling of the list. So it's list. And of course, let's do the M in lowercase because we need to match. Otherwise, Java doesn't recognize this name. Great. So we printed all the array elements. We summed up all the elements. And next, of course, we need to print the total. So we need to tell Java that we're looking to do a print here. So system.out.print. And I'm going to say the total is plus the total. And what this would do is it will print the totals. So this way we can sum all the elements within our array. So once we're done, let's go ahead and run this. Save and launch dialog box appears. Click OK. And notice I get my results, which is just a list of items in the array, which is the first part. So it's going to print all the array elements. And then it's going to sum all the elements. So here's the list: 1.9, 2.9, 3.4, and 3.5. And then it says total is 11.7. So just a basic concept of using arrays in Java. Practice, and let's move to the next lesson.